Um, in the last video, we started to extract some of the attributes, and we examined some of the attributes. The purpose of doing those things were to prepare for building the structural model, for building the mesh and building the grid. And starting from this video, we're gonna start to build the grid, to build the model, Um, at this point, uh, we have pretty much all the data that we needed, right? But in order to build the model, probably one of the most important data is actually the fault data. We need the data to describe the faults in the region. So we will need to import those fault data, and then we will need to edit those fault data. But before we do that, let's go back to the well section window. And one of the problems. So in the previous few videos, we were generating these kind of phases logs, right? We're generating these kind of phases logs. Suppose let's look at the phases cutoff. Neural net 1, right? That was one of the phases logs that we created by using the neural network, right? But the problem with the coloring is that it seems to ignore the pattern that we set up for the template, right? So the template that we used has a color table, right, which is created by ourselves. It's called my colors. It's called my colors, right? So when we actually built the my colors color table, it's got patterns. It's got patterns that's displayed here, right? So that's the color, but you also have patterns, right? Those markers, those dots, those kind of things, right? But when we applied our templates to the log, those patterns has disappeared, right? It's not applied. It's not applied. I myself did not actually notice this problem in the previous few videos. But it's actually quite easy to fix. It's not too difficult to fix. The problem is that in this 2014 version, some of the settings that was supposed to be default settings were not actually default. So in order to actually put those patterns back on, all we have to do is to go to the template settings, right? And then the track that we are sort of looking at is this particular phases track, right? This phases track, where is it? It's the phases cutoff neural net, this particular track, right? So what we have to do is to actually click on the phases cutoff neural net 1. Click on the log itself instead of the track. We have to sort of click on the log, right? Click on the log, and then we have a style. We have a style tab, right? So you can see every checkbox is checked except for one, fill with pattern, right? So for some reason, this particular option is not checked by default, right? So if we want to see the patterns, all we have to do is to check this box and then apply. And now we're going to see all our patterns in the log, right? So if you want to put those patterns back on, just go to the template settings. So this dialog box is the template settings. We got this template settings here. This dialog box was created by this button, template setting here, right? and then let's just do OK. This is some of the issues that some of the leftover issues that I forgot to talk about in the previous videos. Right? Maybe so my face is cut off, and then let me put those back on. Oh, so my faces is actually the faces manual. I think one of the things that we might want to do is to just change the name to a more informative name. Let's just change it to faces manual. Right, manual. And then this one is actually the neural network generated log, right? It's just to change its name to a neural net. Right. So we got the three logs, right? Faces cutoff, faces manual, and faces neural net. So for now we have put the patterns on the faces neural net, right? But we haven't actually we haven't actually applied the patterns on the faces manual and faces cutoff, right? If we want to do that, all we have to do is to go back to the template settings dialog box, and then faces cutoff. Let's click on the log, and then style, and then fill with pattern, apply, and then faces manual, and then style, and then fill with pattern. Yeah, now all of those faces logs have patterns on them. That's about the display of the logs, faces logs, right? So let's come back to talk about how to actually build the structural model, right? How do we actually how do we want to do the structural model? So maybe it's a good idea to close some of the windows. So the first thing we want to do is actually to import the fault data. There are two kinds of fault data. One kind of fault data is called is a so-called fault stick data. Fault stick data were actually interpreted fault data obtained from seismic data. So when a seismologist or a geologist try to interpret a particular seismic section, they can draw fault sticks on that seismic section, and then those fault sticks becomes a secondary data. That's a kind of a derived data from a kind of data that's derived from the seismic data, and then you can just import those fault stick data into your project, and then build your structure model from that fault stick data. So let's first create a folder. So let's and then change the name of the folder to fault stick. Fault stick steps. So the data that we will try to import are actually fault sticks in the depth domain. So the seismic data, sometimes it's in the time domain, right? But once we have done depth domain conversions, you can convert those seismic data into the depth domain, and then interpret the faults on that kind of a depth domain seismic data, right? But let's just import those data for now. So we got fault stick steps, right? Just double click on it, and then inside this particular folder, we've got like quite a few faults. right? And then we're not going to examine all of those folds. And then there's a subfolder that's called subset, right? And inside of this subset, we have like a couple of like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 folds. We have 11 folds in this subset. Let's just choose them. And then the format of those files, all of them are actually text files, are just ASCII text files. But it's got a specific format. It's a ZMAP plus lines, ASCII ***. And then once we have hold down the Shift key and then select all the files, we can click on Open. And then we are seeing this particular dialog box. It's basically saying that so the name here is just the name of the file name of the first file that we just the first file in our selection. And then the type are lines and polygons, right? And it's elevation depth because it's depth domain for stick data, right? And then line type, it's 4 sticks. Let's choose 4 sticks. Right? And then UTM, right? The UTM is the correct UTM. And then OK for all, because we have selected multiple files, right? If you just click on OK, then another dialog box is going to pop up asking you to make a selection to the next file, right? To the next fold file, basically. Let's click on OK for all, then it's going to apply the same settings for all the files that we're trying to import. So now the import has finished. We got a gray checkbox in front of 4 stick depths. If we want to display all the 4 sticks, then that's we can just click on this gray checkbox, and we'll be able to see all those 4 sticks. Right. So in this particular exercise, we're basically just treating 4 sticks as some kind of input data, right? But in practice, in a realistic project, those 4 sticks must be generated, right? It's not sort of automatically gathered from the field. It must be interpreted from the seismic data, right? So this 4 stick data is some kind of secondary data, and later on, after we have imported the seismic data, we will look at how we can actually interpret the seismic data and generate those 4 sticks, right? Create those 4 sticks by ourselves instead of just sort of importing them from a disk space, from external files, right? And Petrel actually allows you to actually do that kind of interpretation quite easily. So if you have a seismic section that's displayed, Petrel allows you to actually draw those 4 sticks just on the seismic section, and then later on convert those drawings, convert those 4 sticks into a format that's just like that, right? Just like that. Right. So that's the 4 stick data, right? 4 stick data. Once we have the 4 stick data, we can start to build our model. So for now, we haven't actually looked at the model pane underneath here, right? For now, all we have been sort of pay attention to is the input pane, where we actually have all the data, right? But now we are going to try to actually create a model inside the model pane. So if we look at the ribbon, right, we looked at the home tab, we look at the stratigraphy tab, right? The seismic interpretation tab allows us to sort of interpret those 4 sticks, right? We can create those 4 sticks by looking into all the buttons in the seismic interpretation tab, right? But we're going to postpone doing that after we sort of build the structure model. So we're going to just take those 4 sticks as sort of some kind of data that's given to us, right? But later on, after we have finished building the static model, we can go back and do seismic interpretation by looking at a realistic seismic three-dimensional seismic model, right? So let's skip this tab for now. Let's just assume this 4 stick data is already provided to us, right? And then let's click on the next tab. That's the structural modeling, right? That's structure modeling. For now, most of the buttons are kind of grayed out, right? But you have a few of them are actually active, right? And let's click on define model. Let's click on define model. Um, so it gives us this dialog box asking us to pick a model name. Let's just call it demo model, right? And then okay. So now we have a item that's inside of a models pane. And for now, there's nothing underneath the demo model except for this Ford model, right? And Ford model is supposed to go into the model um, as the first kind of input, basically, as the first kind of input, right? Um, so now let's try to actually convert those Ford sticks into this Ford model, right? Ford sticks are not automatically Ford model. Ford sticks are just those kind of line, right? But in order to actually convert those Ford sticks to Ford model, all we have to do is to actually right-click on it, right-click on the folder, basically, right-click on the folder which contains all the Ford sticks, and then we have an item that's called convert to Fords in Ford model. We can click on it, and now we have a new dialog box, right? Um, so the input, we got a blue arrow here, right? We got a blue arrow, which means that we can pick any kind of a folder or file in our input pane and then point it into this particular box, right? For now, it's for stick steps, this particular folder that we just selected, we right-clicked on as sort of the input, right? And then where we're gonna put the Ford model, right? We're gonna put it into the demo model. The demo model is the one that we just created. For now, we have just one model in our models pane. But if we have multiple models, here we can actually select the right model that we want to sort of insert our Ford sticks model, insert our Ford models into. Fords, we're going to create new Fords because there's no existing Fords in that file. And then for settings, we've got like a few boxes, right? Pillar type, because the Fords are going to be represented as a collections of sticks, right? And then among all those sticks, a selection of them are going to be called the pillar sticks, right? Called pillar, right? Those pillar are kind of a special sticks, right? Special sticks, and those special sticks allows you to actually control the shape and control the orientation and control the sort of geometric configuration of the particular Fords. And each pillar has multiple points on it, right? So you can choose the pillar type you want to use from this box. The default is a linear. Linear means you just have 2 points, 2 control points per pillar, right? And then the stick is just going to be a straight line that's connecting these 2 points, right? 1 point on the top and 1 point at the bottom. And then it's just a straight line connecting it, right? So the stick doesn't have any kind of a curvature. It's just a straight line stick. But you have a bunch of choices, right? So list trick allows you to add 1 control point in the middle of the stick, right? So you can have a curvature. And then curve allows you to have like 5 control points per stick, right? So you have even more control about the shape, about the curvature of the pillar, right? But now let's just accept the default linear. Increment 300 meters. So that's sort of the distance between 2 neighboring pillar, right? And then every nth stick, so every fifth stick is going to be a pillar, basically, right? You're going to have 1 pillar per 5 sticks. And then search radius. Search radius means that because sometimes you have multiple faults, right? It's not just a one fault. You have multiple faults, and faults can be quite close to each other, right? Some of the faults can be quite close to each other. So if two sticks are kind of close to each other, then do they belong to the same fault, or do they belong to two different faults? And this search radius of 150 meters is basically telling us that if the two sticks are kind of separated by like more than 150 meters, we can sort of consider that there might be a second fault. And then extra height just means that because for now most of the faults are kind of vertical, right? The fault sticks are kind of vertical, and then they are going to cut through those horizons, right? Later on, we're going to import horizon data, and then you're going to see that those fault sticks are going to stick out of the horizon surfaces, right? So this extra height just means that I want to extend the fault sticks, the length of the fault sticks, so that they stick out of the top horizon, and a stick and a stick is going to extend below the lowermost horizon, that kind of thing, right? So let's just accept all the defaults and then click on OK. Right. As soon as we clicked on OK, we're going to see the shape of the faults actually has changed, right? At the beginning, that we don't have those kind of blue rectangular boxes on top, right? On top of the sticks, right? But now we have those blue rectangles, blue boxes on top of the sticks. So every time you see a blue or kind of green rectangle, it means that it's a pillar. It's a pillar, right? So this is one pillar, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you get another pillar, right? So one pillar for every fifth stick, right? The sticks has we have lots of sticks, right? But the pillar is just every fifth stick is treated as a pillar. And then because it's a linear pillar, so we got like two different control points, one at the top, the other one at the bottom. And the sticks themselves don't have any kind of curvature. It's just a straight line connecting the top and the bottom, right? So this is actually inside the input pane, right? This is no, this is not inside the input. This is sort of a display of both the four sticks and also the Ford model, right? We're displaying them together. Suppose we just want to look at the Ford model instead of the four sticks. Let's just uncheck the four sticks. Then it's going to display the Ford model, which consists of only the pillars. Can you see that, right? So all the sticks that's in between has disappeared, right? So that's how the faults are actually represented inside of the model, basically, right? Inside of the model. So let's turn off the wheels. Let's turn off the wheels also, and then let's click on the big eye so we can actually look at all the faults at the same time. Some of the faults actually has quite complicated shapes, and then the kind of intersections among those faults can be quite complicated, right? So let's click on the faults. Let's click on the faults, and then if we expand this particular folder, we're going to see individual faults, right? Individual faults. All those individual faults. If we click on one of those faults, say boundary fault, as soon as we activated one of those faults, we're going to see a context-aware menu item, the kind of a ribbon, right? That's called fault model, right? Here, right here, right? This pink, this purple tab, fault model. We can click on it, and then it's going to display all the buttons that are related to the operations that we can apply on those faults, basically, right? For now, the faults are just displayed as a pillar connected with some kind of horizontal line, right? Not exact horizontal, but it's kind of a sort of lateral lines, right? So one of the buttons that could be quite useful is just to actually use some kind of color fill. Use some kind of color fill to fill up those fault surfaces. So that's this button called fill between pillars. And once we clicked on this button, the display is kind of easier to recognize, right? So each individual fault has a different kind of a transparent color, right? So it's easier for us to identify all the different faults. And then there's also a toolbox called Edit Fault Model, right? You can sort of see the toolbox on the icon, right? You can click on it, and then that's going to give you this tool palette, and it's got some buttons on it, and those buttons allows you to edit the shape and the kind of connections among different faults, right? So now let's take a look at how we can actually connect all the faults, right? In practice, you don't want to just leave those faults as they are. You want to make sure that faults are connected before you actually do the grading, right? So let's look at how we can actually connect the faults, right? Let's still use this small hand. Click on the small hand and go back to the viewing mode. So we're going to try to find a good location. So let's start from some easy ones, right? Some easy connections that we can sort of look at. So here we can sort of see this brown fault and this kind of a green fault are kind of connected on this particular pillar, right? But it's actually two faults, even though it looks like they are sharing a pillar, but in fact they are not. It's actually two pillars that's coinciding at the same spatial location. So we need to do a connection. We need to do a connection. And before we edit this particular pillar, let's click on this button. It's called Manipulate Pillars Shape Points, right? Click on it. We can click on it. And then if we click on this box, we're gonna see this kind of a you have a white cylinder and then a white plate, right? This white plate allows you to kind of drag the pillar horizontally. So if you hold down your left key and then drag it on the white plate, you're gonna see that these two, you actually have two sticks at the same location, right? Once you drag them apart, you're seeing two sticks, right? And this kind of wide cylinder allows you to actually move the stick up and down, basically, right? So you have to sort of hold down your hold down the left button on your mouse, and then you can start to drag it. You can drag it, right? And this is a control point, right? This is a control point. You also have a control point that's down below, right? So if you click on this control point, you're also going to get a wide cylinder and then a wide plate. You can do the same kind of operation, right? But if you actually click on the stick itself, you're going to get also a wide plate and also a kind of a cylinder. And if you actually drag on the wide stick, if you drag on the wide plate, it's going to shift the entire stick. It's not just shifting one control point. It's actually shifting the entire stick, right? You're moving this entire stick around. And then if you actually drag on the water cylinder on the stick, then it's going to move the entire stick up and down, right? So that's sort of how you can actually move control points and also the entire stick. Right? But in order to actually do a connection, we have to sort of hold down the control key. So for now, this particular pillar is active. This is an active pillar, right? In order to do a connection, we have to sort of select the two pillar. One on this particular green fault, and then the other one on the brown fault. So we have to, in order to select multiple pillar at the same time, we have to hold down the control key. Hold down the control key and then click on the other pillar. Click on the other pillar on the brown fault, right? And then if we go to the fault model tab, we're going to be able to actually see this particular button called connect, right? So this connect is a context sensitive, right? This is inside of fault model ribbon. And another place you can get to the same button is by right clicking. You can right click on one of the sticks. And then you're going to get this kind of a toolbox on the top, right? You're going to get this kind of toolboxes on the top. And one of those buttons in this toolbox is this connect. And this button is actually identical to this button. You can sort of see the icons. Right? It's exactly the same. And then you can just click on it. It's going to give you a dialog box. Extend the fault, boundary fault north, that's the brown fault, I think. And then extend the fault, main fault east to create a new fault. It's basically saying that when you are trying to connect the two pillars, what exactly do you want to do? What exactly do you want to do? Do you want to just extend this brown fault and then connect with the green fault? Or do you want to extend the green fault in order to actually connect with the brown fault? Or do you want to create a new fault that's sort of in the middle or connecting these two separate pillars? Or do you want to just merge these two faults into like one fault, right? Let's just accept the default. And now you're seeing that you're seeing some kind of changes, right? Some kind of changes. Let's change the cursor back into the viewing mode, and then let's see what's actually happening, right? One of the things that you might have noticed is that now you have a pillar, this particular stick, that's in a gray color, right? The color has changed to neither green nor brown. It's a gray pillar. A gray pillar means what? A gray pillar means that this is the pillar that's shared by two different faults, right? So you get a gray pillar that's shared by the brown fault and the green fault. And then the green fault seems to have changed its shape quite significantly, right? Because the pillar that you have adjusted is on the green fault, right? At this point, what you might want to do is actually to delete this particular pillar, right? This pillar is actually changing the shape of the green fault. We don't really want that. So let's go back to let's click on this button again, and then just select this particular stick, right? This particular pillar. And then we can just press the delete key on the keyboard. Oh, I actually did something wrong because I have deleted not just I selected not just that one pillar on the green fault. I also selected that shared pillar, right? So here I have to sort of click on undo, Control Z, right? So it's actually two pillar that I have selected. I can only select one and then delete this one pillar. Right. Now it's what we intend to do, right? So you got your undo button here, Control Z. Here we have connected the green fault and the brown fault, right? And then here's another connection. Here's another connection that we need to actually to do, right? That's this dark green and this shadow green. These are actually two faults, but for some reason they are not connected automatically. So again, let's drag apart one of those pillar, and then hold down the control key and select two sticks, and then we can just click on connect. Yeah, one of the faults, one of the pillar has become a kind of gray pillar, and then we can delete the other one. Yeah, so now we have connected these two faults, right? These two faults. And this kind of simple connection uh, must be carried out for 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 all the faults that's kind of connected. You have to sort of examine your fault model quite carefully, and then do this kind of connection. There's another one here. Let's just get close. Then hold down the control key and select select the two, and then connect. Then delete one of those. So here you have two faults that's intersecting with each other. But it's slightly different from the connection that we have done so far, right? Because for this particular connection, the two pillars are not exactly at the same location, right? It's not exactly at the same location. So you don't really have to sort of drag them apart anymore, but how to actually connect the two pillars that's not exactly at the same location, right? So what we can do is to actually shift one of those pillars. Right? We can shift one of those pillars, so we can sort of make them kind of overlap each other, right? Without changing the shape of the wide fault by too much, right? And then we can just drag them apart maybe. What I should have done is to drag this one. I still have to sort of move them close together, and then hold down the control key, and then connect them. And then let's still select one of those pillars and then delete it. Right. So this way we have connected this white fault with this kind of a blue fault. And here we have another connection. So this pink fault is intersecting with the white fault. And again, there's no pillar that's right that's at the location of the intersection, right? So on the white fault, you don't have a pillar that's right at the location of the intersection. So how can we actually Of course, we can move the sticks around, right? We can sort of shift this particular pillar to this position and then do a connection. But it looks like this particular pillar or this particular pillar is kind of quite far away from the intersection location. So in this case, it might be better to just insert one more pillar at the location of the intersection, right? So we're going to insert one more pillar on the white fault, between these two pillars, right? So in this case, we can just hold down the control key. No, first we must click on this button and then hold down the control key. So hold down the control key and pick this pillar and then pick this pillar, right? And then we have this button called add between. Right. You can also get this button by right click, right? And then you have add between. Oh no, add between. That's this button. This one is connection. This one is actually add a pillar between, right? So you can see one more stick in the between the two sticks. Right. And now we got like two different sticks. Got two different sticks, right? Let's change it to the viewing mode, and then we can just try to move that added stick around. Yeah. Looks like I have sort of moved too much. And then let's connect them. And then we can just select one of those and then delete it. Right. Looks like the bottom control point is not exactly at the position that we want it to be. Right. This might make the fault smoother. Yeah, looks good. And here we have a similar situation, right? So it looks like this yellow fault is actually intersecting with the green fault. And the green fault actually has a curvature on it. So what we can do is pretty much just shift the stick on the green fault and then connect with the one that's on the yellow fault. Right. So it looks like we have connected all the easy ones, right? And then we are gonna have two quite difficult situations. One is this so-called X fault. Right? So you see this this red fault is actually cutting across this shallow green fault, right? And then we have a truncating fault. You can sort of see this red fault is actually truncating, is actually being truncated by this shallow yellow fault, right? And we'll have to sort of deal with these two kinds of situations. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to do that? So let's deal with the X fault first. Let's deal with the X fault first. Let's see how we can do that, right? So in this kind of X fault situation, you cannot just you can sort of see two pillars that's right next to each other, but you cannot really just connect them right away. It's that's not the right thing to do. What you have to do is to actually we have to do this thing in like two different steps. In the first step, we're gonna split this red fault into like two segments, right? And then in the second step, we're gonna reconnect them. We're gonna connect the splitted red fault into this green fault. Right? So how do we actually truncate this fault? Right? How do we actually do that? Again, let's do a selection first, and then hold down the Control key. Right. So once we have selected these two sticks, these two pillars, we got a button that's here. That's called disconnect. Let's go disconnect. Right. Maybe I should select this one, and then hold down Control key and select this one. If we select these two, and then we disconnect, click on disconnect. Right. Yeah, that might look better. Right? So as soon as you click on disconnect, you get this purple fault. And then in the fault model, you have one new fault that's called fault 1. And this fault 1 is exactly this purple fault that you just created by splitting that red fault, right? And then at this point we can do a connection. We can do a normal connection. So let's select this particular pillar, and then hold down the Control key, select this pillar on the green fault, and then we can just do a connection. Yeah, let's just accept the default. Okay. So, and then we can just delete the fault stick on the red fault. Right. So now this we have a common pillar between the red fault and the green fault. And now we have to sort of connect this fault patch, this fault 1, back into this red fault. This red fault. What we want to do is to actually, when we actually do the connection, we want to actually merge this fault patch, this purple fault patch, with this red fault. Right. So again, let's select this one, and then hold down the Control key and select this pillar, and do a connection. Right. So now we have to sort of select this particular option, merge fault 1 with this red fault, which is ANE SSW. Right. So you can sort of see the icon here. It's red plus the purple, right? So let's select this option and then click on OK. And now it's connected back. It's connected back into this red fault. And inside of the fault model, you can see that the fault 1, that purple fault has disappeared, right? Because it has been connected back with the red fault, right? So that's the X fault, and what's actually the correct sequence of operations in order to actually connect those two X faults, right? And now we have to sort of deal with this truncating fault. So that's the difficult part. So how are we going to do that? Sometimes it's kind of difficult to see these two faults with all the faults that's around it. So it might be a good idea to just turn off the display of all the other surrounding faults, right? So if we just want to display these two faults, how do we actually select these two faults, right? So let's turn our cursor into this kind of select cursor, or just press P on the keyboard, and then click on say this particular fault, right? And then it's going to display the name on it. It's truncating fault, right? You can see the name of the fault either down in the status bar, truncating fault, right? Or here, the truncating fault is actually in boldface. And then if you click on this yellow fault, then this main fault west is in boldface, right? And then underneath the status bar, you can see main fault west 3, right? So these two faults are just main fault west 3 and truncating fault, right? So let's turn off every fault and then reselect the main fault west 3 and the truncating fault. And let's change the cursor back to the viewing mode, right? So now let's try to sort of do the truncation. For now, if we want to see the sticks, if we just want to see the pillar without the kind of a transparent patches, let's turn off the fill between pillars. So this way we can see the sticks better, right? And then let's see if we change the background. No, the background isn't working. So maybe it's just okay. Is that workable? Yeah. Seems to be. So the first thing we want to do is to actually, for this kind of truncating for the situation, what we want to do is to actually make the sticks appear in pairs, basically, right? So maybe this yellow stick should be paired with this particular red stick, and then we have this yellow stick, and this red stick is kind of already have a control point that's already on the yellow stick, right? And then we have this red stick and this yellow stick, right? Let's try to sort of pair them up. Let's try to pair them up first. Let me just select this particular red stick first, and then let me just move it around. Just move it here so that they are kind of better connected. And then let me also move this yellow stick a little bit so that they are kind of closer together, right? Take a look. Yeah, that looks close enough. And then what am I going to do is that I will. So the first thing I'm going to do is to select the truncating board, right? Select this truncating board, and then hold down the control key and select the pillar that's on the fault that's being truncated. Right, that's the yellow fault. So the O-ring is kind of important. So you have to sort of first select the truncating fault, and then select the fault that's being truncated. Right? Hold down the control key. So now you've selected the two sticks, right? And then on top, inside of the fault model, this particular ribbon, you got like three different options: truncate top, truncate bottom, and remove truncation. Right? What we want to do is actually to truncate bottom. Right. So now you can see. Let's change the cursor to the viewing mode. The pillar that's on the truncating fold has turned into gray, dark gray, right? It turned into dark gray. And then the yellow fold, the pillar on the yellow fold is still the same kind of color. It's not changing, right? And at this point, we can try to adjust the kind of shape on the gray pillar. Right. Right. And it looks okay, I guess. And then we're going to do the same thing for this pair of pillars. We're going to do the same thing. So again, select the truncating pillar first, and then hold down the Control key, select the pillar that's being truncated, and then we're going to truncate bottom. Right. Again, this pillar that's on the red fold has turned into dark gray. Right. And then if we want to make adjustment about the location, we can sort of change it a little bit. Right. So now if we take a look at maybe let's put the color back on. Right. Let's take a look at the color. Suppose I change the background. That's gonna be better. You can sort of see the two folds actually merged together between these two pillars. This kind of changing the background doesn't actually work very well. And then we have the last two, right? The last pair that we need to actually do the truncation for. That's these two, right? That's these two. But for these two, because they are already very close together, so let's do a connection first, right? Let's select these two folds and then do a connection first. Two sticks, and then do a normal connection. And then we can delete one of those sticks. Now we are keeping the shared stick, this common stick. And then after we have merged these two folds at this particular pillar, we can do a truncation, right? Truncate bottom. And now, as soon as you have done the truncation, you're going to see another control point that's right on the bottom, that's close to the bottom of the stick, right? And then at this point, you can just adjust its position. Let's take another view of this thing on the other side. Let's turn off the fill. Okay, so I guess that's the best I can do for these two folds right now. And then let's put the other folds back on, right? So we have to sort of examine again to make sure that we didn't actually miss any folds. And all the folds that are kind of are supposed to be connected are really connected. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Did I connect this one? Yeah, I think so. And that's fold editing. That's pretty much what fold editing is about, right? You have to sort of make sure that you connect all the folds, and you make sure that the truncating folds are handled correctly, um, and then you can start to actually do the pillar grading. Um, so in order to actually do pillar grading, we will need to actually open a two-dimensional window now. 2D window, right? Um, so on this 2D window, let's just display the fold model. And then let me make sure that I see everything, and then put an axis on it, right? So if you look at this particular view, right, every white box is actually the middle is actually the control point of a pillar. It's actually the top control point of the pillar, right? And all those white lines are actually the folds, right? It's actually the top-down view of the folds. No, I think these boxes are actually at the midpoint of the pillar, right? It's not exactly. It's just an indication of the location of the pillar. It's not really telling you if it's a top or bottom control point. It's those white boxes are just indications of the locations of the pillar along the fold along the fold. And again, on this two-dimensional view, we can examine again. We can examine again if our fold are indeed connected correctly. Right? We are not actually missing any connections. And then for this kind of truncating fold, you can see there's an arrow. There's a yellow arrow here, right? Kind of small, but you can see them. You can see them. And the direction of the arrow is indicating the direction of the truncation. So it's actually this fold that's truncating this main fold, basically, right? So they are actually merged at the bottom with the main fold. Um, so if you see anything that's kind of an abnormal on the two-dimensional view, you can always go back to the three-dimensional view and edit the fold again. And sometimes you have to sort of go back and forth multiple times in order to actually uh, 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 get all the connections. And it's actually quite important for us to actually make sure that the folds are kind of connected correctly and have the correct shape, that kind of thing. Right? Otherwise, uh, in later stages when we do the pillar grading, the mesh may have kind of weird shape, that kind of thing. Right? At this point, what we might want to do is to actually import the horizon data. Right? Again, the horizon data is supposed to be interpreted from the seismic data or wheel top data, that kind of thing. You need to actually create those horizons uh, from those raw data, right? But again, we're going to postpone the interpretation of horizons from seismic data into later videos. Right? For now, we're just going to treat the horizon data as some kind of secondary data that's already being derived by other co-workers, and then we can just use them directly in our project, right? So now let's just try to import. Let's try to import the file, the horizon files. So insert folder in tree. Let's just use that. And then let's just change the name. Um, let's change it to horizon depth. Again, it's a depth domain horizon data. Right click, import on selection. Horizon depth. We got like 4 different horizons. Hold down the shift key and select all of them. And then the file type, yes, zmap plus lines. What's actually inside of those ASCII or text files are actually contour lines. They are actually contour lines of the horizons. So the file format is zmap plus lines, and then ASCII star. And then we can just click on open. So it's line polygon, that's the file type, and then elevation depth, that's also correct. And then in the line type, we're just going to select the horizon contours. For horizons, we only have like 2 different choices, right? One is called horizon contours, and then the other one is called horizon erosion lines. And in our case, it's just horizon contours. And then we can keep every other settings unchanged, and then click on OK for all. So after we have finished importing the horizon data, we can sort of click on the checkbox and display them. Right. So the lines are kind of all mixed up. It's kind of difficult to see them, right? Maybe that's the contour lines for base Cretaceous. The horizon for base Cretaceous, and then you have a horizon for top eve. Right? You can sort of see there's a kind of very strong changes, very strong vertical changes, right? The topography, has some kind of very strong changes, and then top knees, and then top tabard. Right? So those are line data. What do we really want is actually surface data, right? So what we want to do is to actually convert them into surfaces, convert those line data into surface data. So all we have to do is to actually select one of those, and then we have a button that's here for the make surfaces. Again, it's under the structural modeling tab, the structural modeling ribbon. Click on make surfaces. Right. And then we actually have seen this particular dialog box in the previous video, right? When we actually trying to create a kind of a color map or kind of a surface for porosity, that kind of attributes, that kind of thing. So we want to start all over again because all those boxes are kind of filled up with the data that we used in the previous run. Right. Let's just click on this result surface box and then press the delete key on the keyboard. And then it's going to ask us do you want to reset the settings in the dialog? Yes, we want to reset everything. And now all the boxes goes back to the default setting, right? And then for the main input, we want to select, say, base Cretaceous, and then point it into this box. And then don't forget to select this run for all main input in the same folder. Right, so the same algorithm are going to be applied on 1, 2, 3, 4, these 4 horizons. And then for the geometry part, we're just going to use automatic. So that's going to be derived automatically from the input. And then let's just accept the default increment. So x, the increment in the x and y direction are just going to be 50 meters. And then let's go to the algorithm. Convergent interpolation is actually fine because it's kind of it's completely fine actually. We don't really have to make any changes. Yeah, let's just use convergent interpolation, and then we can just click on OK. And now we have a separate folder. Right? This folder is called horizon depth. This folder is also called horizon depth, right? But you can sort of see the icons have changed. So in this folder, all the icons are kind of like curves, contours, right? But here it's surfaces. Right? So if you want to look at the surface for basic Cretaceous, we're going to see a surface, right? And then if we want to see the surface for top eve, top knees, top starboard, right? That's the four main horizons. And at this point, we might want to sort of make sure that all the faults actually goes through the horizons, right? And they are not sort of sticked out by kind of too much. So I'm actually looking at the bottom, just make sure there's no sort of strong irregularities. So maybe let's just push this control point a little bit downward. Yeah, that looks better. And anything else we may want to change? It's looks pretty good to me already. Um, yes, I think that's at least good enough. Good enough. If we go back to the 2D window, uh, so in the next video we're going to try to draw a box, draw a boundary, and set some kind of trends, right? And then we are going to use this button to do the pillar grading and generate a pillar. Um, so once we have selected the boundary and have set all the trends inside of the modeling region, all we have to do is to click on this pillar grading button in order to actually create the pillar. Create the pillar grid, the so-called corner point grading. So you can sort of see that all the buttons are grouped into like this particular section that's called a corner point grading. That's exactly what we're trying to do here, right? Called a corner point grading. We haven't looked at the structural framework, right? The structural framework is a newer way of creating a structure model. The corner point grading is more like a traditional way or classical way of creating the grid, right? Um, so if you are not using Petrel, if you are using other kind of software, right, a corner point grading is still kind of the mainstream. So still the mainstream. So if you know how to do corner point grading in Petrel, you also know how to do corner point grading in other kinds of software, which may not have the structural framework available, right? And another thing is that the model that's generated by structural framework still needs to be converted into a corner point grid in order to actually do further analysis. If we have time, we can sort of look at how to use the structural framework. Um, but for the following few videos, we're just gonna follow this corner point grading, the classical approach to build the model.